little direction so the audience will understand what's happening. I just want to give a little direction so the audience will understand what is happening. We've had each of the candidates take a card so that not the same person isn't always stuck with the question first. So we're going to rotate, their answers. And they will each have 1 minute for an opening statement, and we'll have several questions. And we're trying to do an hour package because we invited all the 14 candidates, but we only have 5 here. So we don't have a 2-hour show, we're going to have an hour show. So you'll understand what's going on. And then when everybody is here, we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
My name is Ernie Horvath, and I'm with the Grosse Ile Civic Association. And what we did, we invited the League of Women Voters to give an unbiased program tonight with questions from the residents of Grosse Ile, and maybe if you saw the ad in the paper, maybe some of those questions will appear. So what I'd like to do at this time is welcome Mary Julia and her team that's going to run this 1-hour program. Now I'm going to turn the program over to Mary, and I'm going to do a little videotape.
Good evening, and welcome to this candidate forum, sponsored by the League of Women Voters and the Grosse Ile Civic Association. My name is Mary Bujea, and I am president of the Dearborn Heights League of Women Voters. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan national organization which encourages the informed and active participation of citizens in government policy and advocacy. We never support or oppose candidates or political parties. We are committed to providing free, nonpartisan information, both in written form through our voter guides and candidate forums such as this. Information about what is on the ballot may be learned by visiting our new website called Vote 411, that's VOTE 411.org, and if you follow the directions, put your address and your zip code in, you can find out what's on the ballot in your area. It'll be all the state positions, all the county positions, and your local neighborhood positions will be on, at least everybody that's responded to our questionnaire will be on 411. This informative candidate forum will be hopefully aired on the Grosse Ile Public Access cable channels. The August 7th primary election, the purpose is to select candidates for each respective political party to advance to the November 6th ballot. There are also 2 Wayne County proposals on the August election and some nonpartisan judicial positions, so we hope you look at the whole picture. Our forum tonight focuses on the positions for the local government of the Township of Grosse Ile. It is an opportunity for you to see and hear the viewpoints of the candidates who are seeking election to this position. All candidates for the local positions were invited to participate. Voters will need to choose a township supervisor, a township clerk, a township treasurer, and 4 trustees. The candidates have agreed to the following format. The order in which they speak has been determined by drawing lots. Each candidate will have 1 minute for an opening statement and 1 minute for a closing statement. And we have a timekeeper, Kathy Gappa. You want to raise? She will indicate a 15-second warning and then a stop sign. And also for questions, you will have 1 minute to respond. As I said, the order of questions will be rotated. And if you have not had a chance to address a topic that you wanted to, You may insert it anywhere during the question and answer period or in your closing statement. And once again, I said our timekeeper will raise a red card and then pass it out. I will introduce the candidates tonight in alphabetical order. They were Michelle Melissa Bartlett, candidate for trustee. Bill Heil, candidate for treasurer. Brian Loftus, candidate for supervisor. Did I skip somebody?
Yes, you did.
Yeah. Did I skip? Oh, Peter Kantz, candidate for clerk. Brian Loftus, and then Lauren Francis Smith, candidate for trustee. And starting with Brian Loftus, we will have 1 minute opening statement, and this is a chance for you to tell the audience your background and why you're so special for this office.
When does my timing start? Oh, I've got the best microphone here. Am I started?
Yes.
Okay, well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, thanks for coming out tonight. Most of you know who I am. I'm Brian Loftus. I'm the incumbent supervisor at Grosse Ile Township. Hopefully, most of you remember the absolutely despicable campaign that I won twice 4 years ago to get this position. It was the most brutal in Grosse Ile history. With your help, I prevailed. Through my last 4 years, I've tried to keep township government open, keep you involved, tell you everything I was trying to do, why I was trying to do it, what the outcome would be for you, hopefully to make the island better, make life on Grosse Ile better. Currently, you can see nothing is done because we are 4 board members refuse to cooperate. Their only position is to obstruct. I'm going to plow through that. I'm going to ask you to consider giving yourselves, giving me, giving this township a better board for a better future. I'm there to fight for you.
Actually, if we refrain from applause, we can move on quicker. The next one will be Lauren Smith.
Hi, my name is Lauren Smith. I'm going to try not to provide any comic relief tonight. This is obviously a first for me, so I'm a little nervous. But I want to thank the League of Women Voters as well as the Civic Association for hosting this event. Certainly participation in an open environment and gives me the opportunity to tell you a little bit more about who I am and what I stand for. First, I love Grosse Ile. I haven't lived here my whole life. I was not born here. I've only been here for about 5 years. But it doesn't make me love the island any less than anybody else. I think that I bring a lot to the table, having lived in other communities, knowing what made those communities special and what they did right in those communities. So bringing those experiences and that environment and passion to the table can only help Grosse Ile. I love the peace and serenity that I feel when I go on the island. There's the natural resources. Sorry. I'm used to that.
And next, Michelle Bartlett.
Hi, my friends actually call me Mickey. I live on Boyd. I'm married to Brian, who's the coach you'll see running around with baseball. And I have 2 kids, Nicole and RJ. I'm an employee benefits attorney, and recently I've been branching out into labor. And one of the reasons I got interested in running was I actually had a couple people reach out to me because of the tension on the current board. I tend to get along well with people, and I like to problem solve. When they approached me, I wasn't sure whether I wanted to run or not until I met Brian. It helped that on Christmas he let my daughter light the Christmas tree, so ever since then I like him. But no, I really enjoy problem solving and using interest-based bargaining so that when you do have an issue, you focus on the issues and not the people. My experience, most people are generally, they're just good people just trying to work together. So I hope I can be part of the team.
Thank you. And Bill Heil.
Yes, my name is Bill. Can you hear me?
Oh, is it?
Peter's. Yeah. Who's that?
Well, you're out of sequence then. It's supposed to be Bill Heil is next.
Go ahead.
Heil? How do you say that? Heil?
Hi.
Heil, okay.
treasurer because I feel that I can make a difference in this community. We have a situation where we're spending money faster than we're taking it in. If that continues, we're going to have some difficulty down the road where we would potentially lose control of our own destiny, and I don't want that to happen. My background, in terms of education, I have an undergraduate degree in political science. The majors were pre-law and public administration. I have a master's in business administration. Most of my career was spent in insurance, commercial insurance, and I had to use what skills I had to interface between knowing what insurance contracts were, what the law had to say, what insurance companies' positions were, what lawyers had to say, what their positions were, what plaintiffs and my insureds had to say. I developed a skill for being able to grasp technical issues and communicate them among people and bring a consensus. We need that.
Thank you. And Peter Counts.
Thank you. My name is Peter Kantz, and I'm running for township clerk. I'm 59 years old, and I've lived on Grosse Ile for 30 years. My wife Betsy and I raised 4 children here, all of them graduating from the Grosse Ile school system. 3 of them are out in the professional world now. They're all very successful. The 4th and youngest one is a sophomore, just finished her sophomore year at Central Michigan University, and there's all a testament to how good a school system we have here on Grosse Ile. I retired from Ford Motor Company back in 2005, 7 years ago, and at that time I had no intention of ever getting involved in politics. But somebody asked me if I would consider being on the Airport Commerce Park Commission, and I agreed to do that. Since then, it was 6.5 years ago, I've been involved in the Airport Commerce Park, the Brownfield Authority, the Memorial Fund, and a number of other committees and commissions here in Grosse Ile. And I have to stop.
Okay, now we'll start the first question with Lauren Smith. Can the marina at Water's Edge be developed so that it is a recreation area for residents rather than only a marina?
It's a good question. Do I get a minute for this as well? Okay. I believe it can be. If everybody takes a look at the layout of the land, determine what the community wants by engaging the community, determine what they want. After all, it is about the taxpayers. It's not just for a few. I certainly think that something like that would be feasible, whether it's going to be a kayak launch or a canoe launch or a place for fishing along those lines. Anything is possible if you get the right people in the right places and you problem solve to get things done.
And Michelle Bartlett?
It certainly can be made more of a recreational area. It really just comes down to really a lot of factors. What's it cost? Can it generate revenue? Is it what the people want and what they're interested in? Is it the best location for it? I know we just went to a baseball party out there, and it was absolutely packed with families and with kids and just everybody from the area, and everyone had such a good time in the pool there. And so, I mean, certainly it can, and we can do a lot more to just keep our own folks on the island for entertainment versus going elsewhere. I would certainly be interested in just pursuing it and seeing, you know, what we can come up with for it.
Thank you. And Mr. Kyle?
Well, I have not given that issue a great deal of thought. I'm being honest. At the same time, I have thought about the fact that in our circumstance, and I'm concerned about money, we should take and develop the resources we have here on the island and use them to their best advantage. The suggestions that are here on this are commensurate with that. I think that we have to review and know what we're doing to make sure that we come up with something that people want, that we can really use, and we have to do it in a cost-effective way.
Thank you. Mr. Kantz?
Yes, Water's Edge is a great facility, a golf course, pool, a building for a restaurant, and a marina. But I think Grosse Ile has many, many other locations that are more scenic, I'll say, than Water's Edge. So when we look at where do we want to spend our money, where do we want to have people come and really say, this is what represents Grosse Ile, I think there are probably other places on the island that better represent the natural setting that Grosse Ile has to offer. Water's Edge is across from DTE Energy, and the view you have from Water's Edge is the coal piles at DTE. There are many, many other places that offer a much better view and present a much better image of Grosse Ile and what we have to offer than Water's Edge. Water's Edge is very good at what it's currently doing, but to use it as a gateway to Grosse Ile, I don't think that's necessarily the best place to do that.
Thank you. Mr. Loftus?
Okay, thank you. I'll expand a little bit on what Mr. Kantz had to say. We say a Water's Edge Marina specifically as a recreation area. It's a nice marina. It's a good deep water marina, but it's a very narrow, limited asset, and I think it serves us best as a marina. We have, as Peter said, many, many other parcels, township-owned properties throughout the island that might serve better. So we need to define recreation. What kind of recreation are we talking about? It's a very broad term. We certainly not going to put baseball diamonds there. So it's a good marina. It's deep water. It's easy access. But that is its recreational mission. And I don't see a whole lot of other recreational activities that are, unless they're water-oriented, going there. It has water. We'll put the water-oriented recreation activities there. If again, recreation covers a broad spectrum. We have a lot of township-owned parcels. We'll put the right facility with the right mission. Thank you.
Thank you. And this is a follow-up on that question, and we'll start with Ms. Bartlett. What recreation facilities would you seek to have in the township so that our youth do not need to go off island for recreation?
I do have some ideas on that. One of the hardest things I have with the kids is what to do in the wintertime. I would love to get some type of indoor recreational center where you could have maybe an indoor pool. I think of the one that's over on Telegraph Road where you have the soccer and the different sports. It doesn't have to be to that extent, but I definitely think we can do a lot more to use our space for more wintertime activities.
Thank you. Mr. Kyle?
I would recommend that what we do is survey the people who have children that need recreation to determine exactly what the needs are. And then look at the facilities that we have and find ways to make those match. If you're going to please people, you have to know what they want, and I wouldn't presume to necessarily always know that. We have a lot of facility, we have a lot of capability. It's a matter of matching desire with what we have.
Thank you. Mr. Kantz?
Grosse Ile actually has all kinds of recreational facilities for the children, and those facilities are very well used. Most of them were produced by volunteer organizations, GISA and GIRA. I think the only thing we're really missing is perhaps an indoor pool. We don't have that, but that's a very expensive endeavor. We don't have an indoor hockey rink, again, very expensive endeavor. We don't have indoor soccer, very expensive endeavor. But beyond that, we have everything I think that we can offer them. Those facilities that I just mentioned that we don't have may not be able to be supported by a community of this size, and they are available very near off island. So Bill's comment is correct. We have to survey the people and find out exactly what they're willing to spend for those types of facilities. The question is, can we support them?
Thank you. Mr. Loftus?
Okay, thank you. Just to continue on what Mr. Kantz had to say, and also Mr. Heil, what do the youth want? What do the kids want to do? I'm not in a position to dictate, say, if I build it, you must come. We did at one time have a youth recreation center. It went into disrepair. It was underutilized and eventually torn down. So if we go that route again, we're going to have to study very carefully and not have another failure on our hands. We do have outdoor activities. I'd like to see those expanded more, particularly during the winter. We have a lot of golf courses and public property that's underutilized. A lot of our open space is underutilized. We can put in trails for snowshoeing, cross-country skiing if the snow loads will allow. We still have a lot of property, a lot of township-owned property that we can open up to more recreation opportunities is when we know what the residents want.
Thank you. Ms. Smith?
Okay, going last definitely has its disadvantages because I'm only going to repeat exactly what everybody else has already said. In line with what Mickey had said, we struggle with the same thing in our family. What do we do in the wintertime? In the summer, I feel that there is a lot to do. There's lots of bikes and paths, and there's the water, which my kids certainly are the ones who want to go play in the water. But in the wintertime, we do struggle with that. It's either television or go to a movie, or if it's not freezing cold outside, maybe shovel some snow and throw some snowballs. But I'm looking for more communication and collaboration, possibly with other communities in the area, possibly establishing in Elizabeth Park trails for cross-country skiing or snowshoeing. We can do that also on our island, but we need to make sure that people know about it as well. I'm in agreement, but it's also a matter of funding too. That's the bottom line. What can we do at this time?
Thank you. And Mr. Heil was the first one to respond to this question. The township operating budget is projected to run $450,000 deficit annually. What actions would you advocate to resolve this problem? Continue taking from reserves, cutting budget, raising property taxes or fees?
I think that the solution to that problem is going to be a multi-pronged approach. The first thing I feel we need to do is know exactly where we are. Maybe we need an audit, some kind of a review to have an exact understanding of where our position lies. If you make decisions and don't know where you stand, you don't know what the consequences of them will be to other people. And that's very important if you're a public administrator. But what we would do is address issues like, for example, bonds. We have a lot of bonds with a lot of interest being paid. It might be possible to take some of those bonds and refinance them at a lower interest rate. That would ease up some cash flow that we could use toward other purpose. There's other forms of review that could be made too in terms of process, in terms of budgeting procedure. I'd like to see us starting to accrue for our pension liabilities. But what you need to do is know where you're at before you start moving, and then you methodically work to build from there.
Thank you. Mr. Cantz?
The question was whether or not I want to raise taxes or cut the budget. And initially, of course, I'd like to look at cutting the budget first. We've done a lot of that in the past couple of years. We've right-sized, I think, the employment picture in Township Hall. Are there still opportunities that exist there? There may be. I think what I would like to do first is go through every individual job, every department, every committee, every commission, and see whether or not those positions are really necessary. Are there opportunities to combine functions? I think there are. Those are the things we need to look at first. Then secondarily, because we do have such a large deficit, we will most likely have to look at raising revenues, increasing our millage, particularly in the areas of public safety. Right now, we don't have the funds for the police protection that we need. We're going to need to do something to increase that revenue. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Loftus.
Well, continuing in that same vein, I agree with Mr. Cantz. I have developed 4 budgets for this township, all been approved by the board, and the last have been in deficit. And that's why we have the cash reserves, is to cover this incredible downtime in the Michigan economy. Things are looking better for the rest of the state, and we're slowly catching up. We rely solely on property taxes for our revenues. We can only raise property tax revenues at CPI or 5%, whichever is lower. It'll be a slow recovery for revenues. We have cut the township staff from 57 positions down to 48. If we cut much lower, there will be a dramatic reduction in services. We will be looking at raising revenues. We can't cut spending too much, but not necessarily raising taxes, just making sure we have the right taxes and let you choose what taxes you want to pay to keep our budgets solvent. I can't advocate as an elected official.
Thank you. Ms. Smith?
I think we need to establish a culture of thrift. We need to identify sources of liquidity, and these are just some of my ideas. Pool departmental resources, prompt payment discounts for vendors who pay well ahead of time, standardized practices, energy consumption, take a look at what's going on, what lights are being left on, how water is being utilized. I mean, at township offices and our facilities, not at your houses. Review employee expenses, so whether it has to do with travel, reimbursements, memberships, things along those lines. Evaluate vehicle usage, conduct inventory analysis of office supplies, etc., equipment, and then integrate systems that are cross-departmental. So those are just some of my ideas as far as cost savings, so that we don't have to do a tax levy.
Thank you. Ms. Bartlett?
I would definitely start with any type of investments or the employee benefits to make sure they're set up, that they're in the most tax efficient manner, the design of them. That's what I did for Ford Motor Company, and that's what I do now for clients. I would look at the investments. I used to sit on the investment committee for the 401k plans at Ford. I'm not responsible for anybody that left their money in Ford stock. I told you to get it out of there. I did. And also just recently I went through interest-based bargaining again and helped a client where I thought I was going to negotiate a closing agreement, but using interest-based bargaining principles, you really team up with the other side, with the union, and also with their members to come up with solutions for driving down costs. And actually a lot of the money were the ideas of the actual employees themselves.
Thank you. And Mr. Kantz will start the next question. And this is following along with finance. The township long-term debt may reach $40 million. Can the retirement benefits be renegotiated with former employees? And can we limit such benefits for present employees?
That's a question I'm not sure I can answer. Those are contractual obligations. If we get to a certain point where I guess a financial manager comes in and we're forced to do that type of thing, that can happen. But I don't see us going at this point back to the retirees and saying, hey, we're going to renegotiate your retiree benefits. That certainly isn't fair at this point. There are other things we can do to improve our financial situation rather than laying it on the retirees. Legacy costs are a big issue, no doubt about it. We do have to take action to decrease our legacy costs going forward, and there are things we can do to do that, and we have done those things in some cases. When contracts come up for renewal, we can address those issues at that time, but to go back and try and take care of it in retrospect, I don't think we can do that.
Mr. Loftus?
Okay, I think we're talking about two different functions here. When we talk about $40 million in long-term debt, that's probably referring to the items we have bonded, the debt bonds that we're paying. Sounds like a lot of money. Think of it as the mortgage on your house. If you use debt bonds properly, you're using debt as a tool, as an asset. How many of us would have a house if we couldn't take out a mortgage? If you think of our debt bonds as a mortgage on the things we need to have now, to pay over time, we use that debt wisely, we get a lot of benefit from it. Legacy costs are another issue. The municipalities throughout the country gave out very generous benefits, paying benefits to employees when they thought the cash would never stop rolling in. Their benefits are protected in the Michigan Constitution, limits what we can do with it. But I think if we look at what's out there in the market, we can find better vehicles to protect our employees, get what they have been told they would get at a lower price. We've got to find a way to make that happen, and we'll keep looking.
Thank you. Ms. Smith?
That's a tough one. I don't have a ton of experience in that realm, but I think, when you look at contracts with employees, I myself have been laid off twice in my life. It's not fun. Whenever you're told that things are going away, you're impacting somebody's livelihood. I wouldn't want to do that, especially after they've committed to the township and done served their time with us and put in their duty. I think what Peter said is pretty much what I would say. It just doesn't seem fair. We'd have to take a look at how we can save and how we can change things to make sure that those individuals are covered.
Thank you. Ms. Bartlett?
It's really a national issue. Every client I have is dealing with the same situation. It's the pensions and it's the health care. Hopefully in 2014 we'll get some help on the healthcare when some major pieces of the healthcare reform kick into play. As far as the pensions, anytime the market's down, I mean, if you look over the last, 45 years, it always comes back up. It should do it again this time. The last thing you want to do is get too caught up in it and start selling assets just because the market's down. I think we're going to see a lot more legislation. I do not think that Grosse Ile can be the one township to solve all the problems. I think there's going to have to be a national solution for it. And you asked about new hires. They are generally the easiest to structure under a different type of plan, a 401k plan or the equivalent.
Thank you. Mr. Heil.
Certainly when you're dealing with issues of debt and issues of benefits to people, they are two different concepts. We have these bonds in place. We certainly have the obligations. And if it's possible to save interest, because we have a lot of money that we're paying on, there would be something there that could be done. I don't know if we can refinance them, but I would be interested in that. I mentioned that before. As far as the benefits are concerned, I would hope that we could find a way to start funding some of the legacy costs that are not funded now. If the note comes due and we aren't prepared, then we are stuck with having to go deeper into debt to pay those obligations, and that's not good. If we have money working for us, earning interest, total contribution is down because of the compound interest on the money that has been invested. And I think that that's a wise choice. In terms of the benefits for people, that's always tough. It depends on the circumstance.
Thank you. And next question will start with Mr. Loftus. This is regarding the open space program. The township has acquired over 300 acres of property at a cost of several $1 million to island taxpayers. What is the purpose of purchasing the property? What is the criteria for property selected? And should the program be continued?
Okay, three separate questions. The first one, what is the purpose of open space? In, I think it was 1992, the voters approved a ballot initiative to preserve land as open space. That was the extent of the constraint of the ballot. The township has purchased, I have no control over what pieces were purchased before, but in my board we made sure that we looked at pieces that added value to the residents. We wanted large contiguous pieces so we could presumably follow our recreation master plan that dictated as an action item. We would put educational trails in the appropriate open spaces and the larger ones where we could do without impacting the neighbors. I'd like to see us continue with that. It would be real. It would separate our community from the other communities people could choose to live. Do we need more in the future? The voters will tell us that. I would make sure anything we bought had a specific purpose before we spent the money on it.
Thank you. Ms. Smith?
As far as the purpose, I love seeing the spaces that are not developed. It's good to live in a community where it's not just a stamped out concrete subdivision. I feel that at this point there needs to be a plan of how these pieces are going to be linked together. I think that there has to be a broader range or a broader use for these pieces as opposed to just being underdeveloped or undeveloped. Do I think we need more? That all depends. We have to take a look at our financial situation. At this time, I don't necessarily know that we can afford to purchase anymore. With purchasing also comes maintaining. There also comes other things like preserving and making sure that people are not hurt on that property for insurance purposes. So my answer to that would be no, at this time I would not consider purchasing more open space.
Ms. Bartlett?
The open spaces, I would say, it's a big part of the reason why my husband and I decided to move here. We came from Riverview, and just the idea of driving over the bridge and just putting everything behind you after you leave work and forgetting about it all and seeing the water and seeing the trees. If we didn't have those open spaces, I don't know that it would have the same feel, you know, of maybe being up north and just, you know, the tall trees all around. Definitely want to keep them. I don't know that we need to buy more right now. There's not a lot of development going on the island in this, you know, economy. So I don't think there's any rush to buy more property at this point. But I do love the open spaces, and I would definitely keep them. And in the future, perhaps, we could look into getting some more.
Thank you. Mr. Heil?
I think that the Open Space Committee performs two valuable functions, or they have performed two functions. One is the sort of help in the acquisition of land, and the other is maintenance of it after it has been acquired. At this point, at this time in our economy, I think that the maintenance function is very important. It's vital. It should be sustained. Personally, I have a hard time authorizing the acquisition of money to take property off the tax rolls when it's probably better spent taking care of debt or legacy costs or finding ways to maintain things that we haven't addressed already. I have some of those in mind. I was over at a DPS meeting. We have water pipes that are so tall, 12 inches in diameter, they're like 4 inches or 6. We've got to clean those out and replace them at some point. Some of them are supplying water hydrants, fire hydrants. A truck can't get the water it needs. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next question will start with Ms. Smith.
I think you can't stand.
Oh, excuse me. You're
Word of time, Peter.
not sitting where you're supposed to be. Mr. Knopf.
Actually, I'm very much involved in open space. I'm not part of that commission, but I've done a lot of work with it in the last few years. And I consider it a very, very valuable asset to the community. And I think the number is actually closer to 600 acres than it is to 300 acres. In just the last couple of years, we've actually purchased close to 150 acres. Some of that was undesignated township land, which we used to pay off when we purchased it with open space funds. We used it to pay off the bridge litigation. That saved the taxpayers $1.5 million and also secured 80 acres of open space land for us. The big thing in my mind is, what are we going to do with that open space? I mean, it's your land, you know. You need to have access to it. If you want to walk through that land, you need to be able to do that. Otherwise, we're throwing away a big part of that asset. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll start with Ms. Smith. How can we attract new businesses and support existing business, especially that we have several vacant buildings on Macomb Street?
Well, recovery in our local economy is really going to be driven by the businesses and its workers through a very well thought out plan. I would definitely work with the DDA to try and figure out what we could do to attract new folks, and that would include an aggressive marketing plan. We no longer can sit back and wait for people to come to us. We need to be proactive, going out there and tooting our horn to everybody, whether it's in the local community, Southeast Michigan, or the region, or even the United States. They need to know the value of our community and the beautiful structures that we have so that they can come here, do business, and then we can support those businesses.
Thank you. Ms. Bartlett?
You know, I'd really like to see a committee be formed of just business owners. Just the amount of talent that we have in Grosse Ile is amazing. And I was reading the newspaper, and you know, you're kind of checking out the other candidates, and I couldn't believe the credentials of everyone. The candidates, the folks that are on the committees. If you could get together a working group so that when we have these businesses that are on the main street and they're struggling, that you could just bring in a team to sit down with them and just offer them assistance. You know, let us, if you don't mind, if you're not embarrassed, let us look at your financials. Let us look at your business plan, and really just mentor them a bit. I've seen too many businesses close since I've been here, and I don't think it's necessarily their products. I think they just don't understand how a business operates and what they need to do to just maintain a strong profit margin.
Thank you. Mr. Hine?
I think when you talk about developing business on Macomb, you're facing a pretty steep problem. For a period of time, I lived in Melvindale. The residents, in terms of numbers, are almost identical in size. Both communities have roughly 10,000 and change for people. But the significant difference for the point I'm making is that in Melvindale, there are busy roads and people from other communities pass through. It's also a city. So these passers-by can stop at a McDonald's and have a meal. They can stop at a drive cleaner on their way to work. They can stop and buy fuel at a gas station. None of that is possible here. And so the revenues that accrue because of our being an island are a different story. What I think we need to do is find some way to recognize that and find a way, if we want business downtown, to promote traffic to come here. That's a different thing. Exactly how that would be accomplished would be, I think, in collaboration with others who would be creative on that.
Thank you. Mr. Cantz?
Yeah, empty storefronts on Macomb are a big problem. I think there's probably more empty storefronts on Macomb than there are storefronts that have stores behind them. I don't have an easy answer for that. What I think we need to do is develop a brand or a theme for Grosse Ile, at least the Macomb Business District. And maybe that theme is antiques, maybe it's holistic medicine, maybe it's something, but you have to attract people to the island for a specific purpose. We don't have enough residents here to really support a growing downtown area. So we have to bring people in, but the type of people that I'd want to bring in would be people that would be low impact to the community. So maybe it's art, or maybe it's some type of sports. But we need to develop a theme, a brand for downtown Grosse Ile.
Thank you. Mr. Loftus.
Excuse me, thank you. And I'm just going to pick up basically where Peter left off. Businesses need customers. Our population went from about 10,800 in 2007 down to we're about 10,002 right now. Those are customers we lost. Michigan is the only state in the union that lost population over the last decade. So we're fighting from deep in the hole. Again, it's customers. My wife, bless her heart, ran a small business on Macomb Street for almost 2 years, and it was no customers. You just can't thrive. So we do need to attract them outside. We need to be a niche market. If we could get 10% of the people who go to the Ann Arbor Art Fair to come to see art on Grosse Ile, we could pay off all our bills and fill all our stores. If that's the route we want to go, then let's find that niche market, let's fill it, and make it happen.
And now, Ms. Barber, we'll have the first response. How can we repair East River Road, West River Road, and Church Road beyond mere pothole repairs? And if Wayne County does not have funds to help us, should we have a millage to improve our roads?
Can I just say first that I hate answering questions when I haven't studied them. I mean, just my training. In order to do that, I would want to check out the roads myself, talk to the people, find out, I believe we have a Department of Transportation commission or folks that focus on that piece of it. I wouldn't even begin to answer it without studying it more. Yeah, I don't want to talk if I don't know the answer.
Okay, Mr. Kyle.
I think one of the hard realities is that while Wayne County is blessed with the responsibility, they don't have the ability to do the job. When I was at the meeting I was talking about, when I mentioned water pipe a bit ago, we also had opportunity to discuss the roads. And the hard truth is that repairs are not being made as fast as those roads are deteriorating. I think that leaves us with a choice, and I'm talking about the whole community, of what we want to do. I honestly think that if we want this community to be in good repair, if we want it to be as nice as we want it to be, if we want to protect the property value of the homes that we haven't worked so hard to purchase, we're going to have to accept responsibility for repairing those roads, whether we want to or not. I foresee that we might have to step up to the plate to do that, but it would have to be at the vote of the people here.
Thank you. Mr. Kentz?
Yeah, I could pretty much just say the same things that Bill said. I mean, I've lived here long enough to know that the roads are in bad shape, but I've also lived here when the roads were even in worse shape. And what we've done in the past is, in fact, support villages to improve the roads around here. And like Bill says, they're Wayne County's responsibility, but the bottom line is Wayne County is in worse shape than Grosse Ile is in. And if we want those roads repaired, we're going to have to step up to the plate, just like we did in the past, and foot some of the bill. Now, we certainly need to work in conjunction with Wayne County. We're not going to do all of their job. They have responsibilities to us. They do have some funds, but they're not going to come in here and bring the roads up to the level that we, as a community, should expect our roads to be at. So, as in the past, very likely we're going to have to go out for some type of millage and ask the residents whether or not they want to improve these roads.
Thank you. Mr. Longstreth.
Okay, thank you. We do currently have a road millage. We are accumulating funds trying to fix those most dangerous areas of the road. But as has been said, the constraints of the McNitt Act, sometimes referred to as Act 51, gives the road funding authority to Wayne County to dole out as it sees fits. Cities become their own road funding authorities. Townships do not. Wayne County has obviously other priorities. We have 10,000 people. Canton has 100,000. That's where their road dollars are going. Our road millage, I hate asking you to pay a road millage because I'm asking you to pay twice for the same repair. Your gasoline taxes and the federal transportation improvement program, your tax dollars are going elsewhere, and I'm asking you to pay another tax to get your roads fixed here. I have asked to be considered for a carve-out from the McNitt Act so we could be our own road funding authority. Mr. Colbeck said, you could become a city. I'll try it again with Senator Young.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Smith.
Living in Michigan, I think it's like you're almost used to it. It's unfortunate, Going to Florida or Georgia, you see all these beautiful roads, and you go, how come we can't have this in Michigan? But unfortunately, we've got bad weather and heavy trucks and all this other good stuff that works against us. It's unfortunate. You drive through beautiful communities like Grosse Ile, and you just see these potholes. Not only that, but you see kids riding their bikes down the streets, and those potholes are dangerous. I for one, have almost been a victim of one. It's not pleasant. I don't, in agreement with Brian, you hate to ask for, a millage. If it comes to that, if we put it on a ballot, then it's going to have to be a decision that people are going to make, and that should be up to you to make that decision.
Okay, I've had quite a few cards come up about nature trails and bike trails, and one that says there's a danger on the county bridge. So would you like to respond? Let's see, we're going to start with Mr. Heil this time. So I'm combining some of these questions. They're concerned about promoting biking, but they're also concerned about a danger on one of the bridges. And would you please repair the snow line for bike safety? No ordinary injury or deaths. I don't know. Has there been accidents or something? So anyway, Mr. Heil.
As those questions are phrased, I'm not sure I can be real specific, but I can speak conceptually. I do have some thoughts. My main concern would be an item on a bridge. I'm not aware of one, but there's a lot of traffic on that bridge, and you're talking about safety for people's welfare. That would, in my mind, in this list of things, be the first thing I would pay attention to. As far as the other things, a bike path adds value to this community in a myriad of ways. You get exercise on a bike path. And one of the things this nation needs is more exercise, but you enjoy it. You make friends. There's a lot of value. And so we should create the bike paths. We should sustain them. We should mark them properly so they're safe. The rest of the question, I don't quite recall.
Well, I think they're promoting, and they want to know if you're in favor of nature trails and bike trails.
Well, I would agree with the concept that if we have this open space, it should be put to use that people agree with.
Okay, thank you. Because I was combining, I got 3 or 4 cards.
I will throw that. That's okay.
And so, Mr. Kent.
I'm a big supporter of nature trails. It's a proven fact that proximity to nature trails raises the property value of a home by almost 10%. If the trails are properly developed and properly placed. We have all kinds of open space. We have acres and acres of open space. That open space needs to be opened up with nature trails so that you, the people of Grosse Ile, can use the land that you bought. As far as bike paths go, we have a very nice bike path system. I think we should expand it if people want to spend the money on that. As far as safety for the county bridge, that was an issue when the county bridge was renovated. They tried to expand the sidewalk there. They couldn't do it. It is a dangerous situation. The best bet is to walk your bike across the bridge rather than riding across the bridge. But the bridge is a valuable link between the bike paths that are out there and the bike paths that are on the island.
Thank you. Mr. Loftus.
Okay, several issues here. The nature trails, again, I agree with Mr. Cantz completely. We've got to get away from this concept of keeping open space closed. Nature trails would be a wonderful asset, again, separating our community from the other communities that don't offer that, as long as we can keep them reasonable distance so they don't impact the neighbors. The bike paths are a wonderful asset. It's part of the Complete Streets program that's been a state policy for the last several years. As you design new streets, they will include non-motorized transport, ability to ride a bicycle, walk safely. All of our developments should be that way. They will be that way, and it's tough to retrofit, but we're fitting in bike paths and walkways wherever we can. It's a great bike path system. I've got just wonderful stories. I love seeing the kids and the moms pushing strollers safely on the bike path, not in the streets. I'd like to see more of that.
Thank you. Ms. Smith.
I think open space would be an ideal avenue for nature trails. I am one who likes to run and go biking and bring my family along or meet people along those trails. I think that there's ways to not only create this, but innovate and collaborate with our residents from the standpoint of, for instance, a good friend of mine in Milford went to the township and said, hey, look, we've got this property, it's underutilized, can I possibly mobilize some volunteers, go get grant money or sponsorship money, cut paths in here? And these are just nature walking trails. These are not, paved trails. These are ones that go through and they go, every couple months they go through and hack down, some of the things that have overgrown and whatnot. There's ways to do these things if we can mobilize groups and put together good ideas that are tangible and workable for the community.
Thank you. And Ms. Barber.
I'm all for the nature trails, the bike paths. We use them. We take the bike path to go to Save-On and get an icy Coke. But I would like to see those expanded. I'd like to be able to, maybe ride around the island on them. I think it's great to take my kids out there. The only thing on the bicycles is crossing the bridge. I think it's so dangerous when you have the cars and you have the bikes right in the middle of all the cars. People tend to get frustrated and they don't want to wait for the bikes. If somebody falls on one of those, they have no place to go. And maybe I'm wrong, but I thought somebody just got killed on the freight bridge in an accident like that. So it's almost like when the boats come, the boats that are too big and you have to turn the bridge, maybe they would even consider doing something where you say, okay, any bikes, wait a couple of minutes and then we'll let you all cross at the same time. I think it's wonderful to promote the biking. People come from all over just to come out to the island, and I would like to see more bike paths and nature trails.
Thank you. Now that I've combined two questions, Mr. Loftus will start on this one. And it's both ends of the spectrum on fire and police. Will you pledge not to combine fire and or police with off-island communities? And then the other side of the coin is how can we increase the number of volunteer fire staff? So on one hand, they don't want you to go offshore with combined services, but on the other hand, how are you going to get more volunteers locally?
Okay, this is kind of an overarching issue. There's this incredible push from the state, and they were even holding our revenue sharing ransom to collaborate, to combine services with other communities, to combine police and fire. And I had to study all these issues, and none of them for Grosse Ile made sense. We live on an island. I don't think the residents are going to wait for a Wayne County road patrol if they hear a burglar or a strange noise at night. So we rejected those ideas out of hand. The idea of cross-training police and fire is just, they're such completely different missions, completely different specialties. It just doesn't pass the common sense test. So we have a great police force. I don't see any need to change that as long as the voters are willing to pay for it. As for attracting volunteer firefighters, Chief Murdoch has done a good job keeping his force up. I'll rely on his expertise and do what I can to facilitate his ideas, keep our volunteers staffed.
Thank you. Ms. Smith?
Yeah, it seems like this has been a hot topic for sure. I would have to look at what other communities are doing. I can't guarantee anything. Words are cheap. I can't guarantee anything. I'm not going to say something just to get elected. The fact of the matter is, we've got budget issues. Do I like police? Absolutely. I had an officer help me a couple weeks ago when my motorcycle broke down. That was very valuable. When I drive on this island and I see public safety, a visible presence, that to me is very important. That helps keep our home values higher than other communities. But I can't promise anything. I would also want to get to know a little bit more about the police department and fire departments and how they operate to see whether or not they need more, and look at other communities to see communities to see what their staffing levels are.
Thank you. Ms. Bartlett?
I'm actually glad to hear that the outsourcing was turned down, because I just think we have one of the best police departments around. And I've lived in other communities, and you do. If you have an issue, you call the police, and you can wait up to a half an hour. Here, the odds are they're close to your house anyway. I still fight with my husband about whether we have to lock the bedroom window at night when we sleep, but I even checked out. I checked out all the crime statistics before we moved here, and it was just amazing at the difference in the low crime rates here compared to just over the bridge. So I just wouldn't want to do anything to mess that up. As far as the fire department, I wasn't aware that they were short on the personnel. I thought they were doing okay there. If we needed to attract more, again, we would look to them to do it, but you would just incentivize whatever behavior you're looking for, whether it's in terms of benefits or some other feature.
Thank you. Mr. Hine?
I'm very grateful for the quality of service both the police and fire provide to our community. I was speaking to the policeman yesterday, and I explained at the same time that while I felt everything that they were doing was of merit, if we have limited funds and we have other things to take care of, and I think I used the example of the water pipe that's calcified, we have other issues to deal with, and in the future we're going to have to make some hard choices. If the voters are willing to assign millage issues for them, I think that would be wonderful. I'm just saying that when you're a public administrator, you have to be aware of a variety of needs. And while we're very grateful for these people and want to do the best we can to care for them, we have other issues we have to face as well. I think that merits being said. The fire department is a miracle. We can't thank Duncan Murdoch enough, because he has arranged a town class rating for us that saves us huge amounts of money on our property insurance, our homeowners, because of the way he is structured. I can't say enough for him.
Thank you. And Mr. Kentz?
Grosse Ile has one of the best public safety departments in the country, and because of that, people do come to live here. There are a couple assets that we have that actually attract people from the outside, and public safety is one of them. We don't want to do anything that would jeopardize that. One of the other assets we have is our great school system, and of course all our natural resources. So as far as the police and fire goes, I can't make a pledge, as no one else up here can actually make a pledge, because we don't know what the future holds for us. But I have no intention at all of doing anything that would jeopardize either the police or the fire department from doing their job. In regards to your question about the fire department having problems attracting additional firefighters, I'm certainly not aware of that. Last time I talked to Duncan Murdoch, he actually had people that wanted to get in, but they didn't have a place to put them right now. So that's news to me.
Thank you. Ms. Smith will start the question, and we're running low on time, so maybe if you could just do a quick response to this one. What is your position on opening the old municipal dump property east of the nature area, which is now part of the open space properties, to public access?
I can't answer that. I'm not familiar with that property at all.
Okay. Ms. Bartlett?
I'm taking a pass. I'm on that one. I'd have to say.
No time.
Mr. Heil?
My my neighbor Gerald Filarski is on the Open Space Committee, and he came to me about that idea. The thing I think that they're trying to create is a path that proceeds off of East River, easterly, roughly to the bay where the Albemarle Boat Club is, and then it works its way north. There's like a quarter circle, and you come back. The idea is it provides you a place to walk. You have a chance to be close to the water, walk through the trees and nature. You make it a pleasant thing. You maybe take your dog for a walk in there, that sort of thing. It was started, the construction was, I don't know what approvals were obtained, but they thought it would work. And then someone protested that a wetland was being violated, as I recall it. I don't have an opinion on how you balance those things. I've got my own frustrations with wetlands, but I like the idea because it gave us a low-cost way to make things nice. We have a bunch of people who walk dogs past, and I like dogs, and you know that. We've got more dogs now. But I think that would be neat. I like the idea, but it doesn't mean everybody does.
Okay, Mr. Pence?
I think it's a great idea. I've actually been to the dump and walked through it. A lot of snakes back there, a lot of broken glass back there. It is a dump. It does need to be fixed up. But in this case here, we actually had volunteers come forward to do that for us. This is going to be free of charge to the township. The problem is we don't have a trail policy that lets us approve that type of construction. What we need first is a trail policy so we can evaluate these ideas, protect the rights of any private property owners, and make sure that the trail is done properly. But I'm 100% in favor of putting a trail, an access to water trail, in the township dump. But it's going to take a lot of work, and fortunately here in Grosse Ile, we have a lot of volunteers that are willing to put in their time and invest their money, not just their time, in a project like that.
Thank you. And Mr. Loftus?
Well, continuing on that same thought process, yes, we don't have a policy that says we can do it. We don't have a policy that says we can't do it. So we do need to get in there, if nothing else, a trail to get in and help clean up the broken glass, the residue from its days as the township dump, to clean it up, to add value to that property so that that value adds property to the community, to open up your open space to you. We will, of course, respect the nearby residents. My personal thoughts is no closer than 200 feet, and hopefully we can keep them farther than that from any resident. But it's your land. You should have access to it. You should be able to walk out there to the edge of the wetlands and see the shorebirds and watch the sun come up. So I'd love to see it developed. I'd like to see it cleaned up. I'd like to see it turned into an asset we're all proud of, that we can brag about, and we can take our kids out learning about nature.
Thank you. And it's time for closing statements. And Ms. Bartlett will be first.
I just want to say that I may not know all the local issues right now, but I'm a quick learner. I like solving problems, and I get along well with others. If you have 200 pages of regulations on the wetlands, I would enjoy reading it and summarizing it afterwards. And I think that a lot of the folks here all have different strengths, but I think that a lot of our strengths just fit well together, and I think that there's a lot that we can do for the township to really move it forward. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Heil?
Serving Grosse Ile as a trustee or one of the officers, if you would, is not going to be an easy job. You better know that you're not going to make everybody happy every time. Whatever decision made has its pros and cons, and someone will feel they've been stepped on. But I think that what we need most of all is to let people know that what we do is done thoughtfully, with compassionate concern, that we work together here as a group that gets along essentially with harmony, so that we can work and honestly trust one another, cooperate with one another to make decisions that will benefit the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Katz?
I've been a member of the Board of Trustees for almost 4 years now, and prior to that, I've been on the committees and commissions. Prior to that, I was involved in Gyra and GISA, 8 years as a soccer coach, 12 years as a soccer coach, that is 8 years as a basketball coach for Gyra. I helped build the Gyra clubhouse, I helped build Playscape, I helped build the airport soccer fields. I've been involved with Grosse Ile now for 30 years. And I've worked hard for Grosse Ile, but I've been rewarded. My kids had opportunities they wouldn't have in any other community in Michigan, probably in the country. So I'm proud of Grosse Ile, and that's why I want to become the clerk, because I want to continue to make Grosse Ile grow, to move Grosse Ile forward. I've got the ability, I've got the education, I've got the experience, and I know Grosse Ile, and I can do the job because I have the time to do it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just in closing, I've been your supervisor for 4 years. It was a rocky start. I started with no records to rely on, no assistance, no transition. I learned by reading the laws, studying a case history, collaborating, learning, and being mentored by other township supervisors, Richard Ream up in Plymouth, Phil LaJoy in Canton. I learned a lot from these gentlemen. Elkie Doom over at Huron Township. I learned what I think is a good supervisor. I tried to use those assets to be the best supervisor I could be here. I intend to keep doing that. Most importantly, you are the ones who are going to make that happen. You took the time to come here tonight to listen, to pick our brains, to decide, are we saying what you think we want to hear from us? Are we the people you want? Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Smith.
Although I too don't know every issue that the township has experienced in the past or may experience in the future, I am a quick study, and what I would do for myself is make sure that I went through an orientation process with every single department, every single manager, get to know the folks working at the township so that I know the day in, day out grind that they have to endure. I would also collaborate and want to communicate more effectively and efficiently with the community, including taxpayers like yourself. I would want to work together, and I think here's a group, I think, like Nikki had mentioned, we get along, we have a lot of the same thoughts, and I think that we would be a good group. Thank you.
Thank you. I have one other card that was sent up from another candidate supporter saying that the questions were given late and they didn't have a chance to respond to them, or they were not invited. We invited everybody who's on the local ballot we sent 2 letters to every one of them. And these people did not have the questions ahead of time. We developed the questions. Some came from the Civic Association, some came from the audience, some came from residents who belong to our league. So they did not know what the questions were ahead of time or what sequence they were. So just wanted everybody to be aware of that. I want to thank the candidates and the audience for coming and remind people to vote on August 7th. There's also, I'd like to encourage you to go on our website, which is vote411.org, because on the ballot, well, if you follow instructions, put your address and your zip code in, and everything that's on the ballot in your area will come up. And one of the other things you need to vote on is a United States Senator, a representative, a state representative, a Wayne County prosecuting attorney, Wayne County Sheriff, Wayne County Clerk, Wayne County Treasurer, a Register of Deeds, and a Wayne County Commissioner. On the nonpartisan ballot, there's a circuit court judge race and a district court judge race. There are 2 proposals on the ballot for Wayne County. One is the jails millage renewal. It's renew the millage authorized in 2002 to continue to levy this millage rollback rate at 0.93 mils, and that's about 94 cents per $1,000 taxable valuation, and that would be for 10 years up till 2021. And in the first year, the expected revenue would be $38,559,000. And then the second one is about the Art Institute, and it's the Wayne County Art Institute Authority. It was established pursuant to Public Act 296 of 2010, and it's formed to allow the continuing support of Art Institute services for the students, residents, and visitors of Wayne County. and that would be a 0.2 mil, 20 cents per $1,000 value on property. And in the first year, it would generate $8,284,000. So there's a lot of important issues on the ballot, and I encourage you to talk to your friends and make sure everybody votes. Thank you very much.
As a representative of the Grosse Ile Civic Association, I'd like to think that this may start a new trend on this island for open and fair discussion with unbiased opinions, and have fair people like you come and watch us. The most important thing I think we can do right now is thank the League of Women Voters and Mary for accepting our request to do this for us. The second thing I'd like to do is to thank the candidates for having the courage to show up here tonight, not knowing the question. I know what that's about and how difficult that is being assailed. And because this was a difficult program to pull together, because of the way the responses were received from the candidates, on such short notice, I'm very pleased to see that every one of you turned out. And without you, this wouldn't have been a success. So applause to you. And I think that concludes our program for tonight.
Drive carefully.